Hello, good morning, and thanks for choosing to start your day on ADBN Television's flagship program, Morning Express. My name is B.T. O'Brien. First, we begin with our major news bulletin this morning, ADBN News at 7. In the news this morning, Assistant Inspector General Olatunji Disu has formally taken over the leadership of the Nigerian Police Force following the resignation of his predecessor. AIG Disu was decorated earlier by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu at the presidential villa before proceeding to force headquarters, Louis Edet House Abuja, where he assumed duty and outlined an ambitious reform agenda. ADBN security correspondent Fumilola Adeyemi has details.
At exactly 4:40 p.m., the new acting IGP arrived at the force headquarters to a ceremonial welcome by the Coast Guard and senior officers. Hours earlier, his predecessor, Dr. Olukayode Egbetokun, has stepped down, citing family reasons after more than 2 years in office.
Ready for inspection, sir!
In his address, Disu described his appointment as a heavy responsibility and not a moment for celebration. He admitted that police force faces serious challenges, including a trust deficit with the public, outdated system, and instances of misconduct.
I'm of the strong opinion that this is not yet time for me to become complacent. It is not yet time because a heavy burden has been placed on my shoulders and those of my colleagues. It is not yet time because I know the expectations are very high. It is not yet time because I know we should not only meet the expectations but try to surpass them.
The outgoing IGP, Dr. Egbetokun, thanked officers for their support and called for unity behind the new leadership.
The promise of security is not sustained by the police alone. It is strengthened by a nation that stands together. The burden of command is neither ceremonial nor light. It carries decisions that shape lives, responsibilities that test conviction, and moments that demand quiet courage. I have carried it with humility and now relinquish it with gratitude.
This also pledged to improve officers' welfare while demanding discipline, courage, and respect for human rights. As he takes the helm, expectations are high that the new police boss will translate his reform promises into tangible actions that will strengthen security and rebuild public confidence across the country. Fumilola Adeyemi, ADBN News.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has urged the leadership of the 10th Senate to amend the Constitution to establish state police as part of efforts to address rising insecurity across the country. He made the appeal during an interfaith breakfast with senators at the presidential villa Abuja, stressing that the decentralized policing would strengthen grassroots security and complement federal efforts against terrorism, banditry, and insurgency. The president said state police would enhance intelligence-led, community-focused law enforcement and enable states to respond swiftly to local threats. He also commended the cordial relationship between the executive and the National Assembly, noting that unity remains critical to defeating insecurity nationwide. Senate President Godswill Akpabio praised the president's leadership and reform agenda, saying the recent policies have boosted revenue for subnational governments to drive infrastructure development. He offered prayers for the administration and for national peace and prosperity. In a separate development, President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, has reaffirmed his commitment to providing ultra-modern healthcare services to the citizens of Akwa Ibom and Nigeria at large, in line with the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Tinubu. Senator Akpabio made the statement on Wednesday while receiving various high-tech medical equipment donated by Global Women Ambassadors Canada for the people of Akwa Ibom State. represented by his Special Advisor on Health Matters, Dr. Adewale Adekoya. Through Dr. Inyobong Essien, the Senate President, appreciated the facilitators and pledged that the equipment would be effectively utilized for the benefit of citizens.
We always respect and give kudos to distinguished Senator Godswill Akpabio for his health interventions. Just recently, he organized a special free and compulsory healthcare outreach for the people of Ikotekpene Senatorial District, which is also preparing to do same to all the senatorial districts in Akwa Ibom State. He has done so much to make sure that Akwa Ibom people have access to first-class medical care. No wonder he built a first-class multi-specialist hospital in Akwa Ibom State, Popular Ibom Specialist Hospital.
Also speaking, Senior Legislative Aide to the Senate President on Stakeholder Mobilization, Mr. Femi Oderi, and his counterpart on political matters, Honorable Anyekan Abraham, highlighted the benefits of the medical equipment.
I have a passion, philosophy, you can call it a motto, to always look for ways to push the envelope in the right direction wherever I find myself. This donation to the office of the President of the Senate will go a long way to complement the renewal agenda of Mr. President in the health sector. And you understand, the President of the Senate is passionate about the well-being of his constituents. And this, if done, is something we really appreciate.
The President of Global Women Ambassadors Canada, Ms. Kemi Amuson, said the donation would enhance health rehabilitation, reduce maternal mortality, and improve sustainable healthcare delivery nationwide.
The advantages of these interventions are enormous. It will help reduce maternal and child mortality risk, improve access to quality treatment, reduce healthcare costs for ordinary citizens, strengthen hospital infrastructure, and minimize the need for costly medical tourism abroad when healthcare systems function effectively at home. Families remain united, resources are preserved locally, and national confidence grows. We respectfully recognize and appreciate the unwavering support of the Senate President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Godswill Akpabio, whose office provided critical logistics and shipping coordination that ensured the safe arrival of these life-saving materials.
The equipment includes ICU beds, wheelchairs, crutches, blood pressure monitors, incubators, converters, drug storage units, patient monitors, thermometers, stabilizers, adult weighing scales, and other medical supplies. Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Lateef Fagbemi SAN has called for improved funding of the Federal Ministry of Justice, warning that Nigeria's judicial system is grappling with contemporary challenges amid obsolete laws and resource constraints.
That the achievements recorded in 2025 were limited by pressing contemporary challenges confronting the justice sector, which include 1, infrastructural challenges which limit the conducive nature of our workspace, inadequate funding occasioned by budget shortfalls and delayed budgetary releases, human rights concerns such as prison overcrowding and limited access to legal aid, the rise of emerging crimes, including cybercrime, terrorism, and transnational or cross-border crimes, financial resource constraints that limit our ability to fulfill constitutional, legal, and international obligations, human resource constraints that limit our ability to undertake the increasing workload in the ministry. To address these challenges, we must combine budgetary support with legislative reforms.
Presenting the ministry's 2026 budget proposal before the Senate Committee on Judiciary and Legal Matters, the minister noted that limited capital releases in the 2025 fiscal year hampered the execution of key projects and reform programs. According to him, the ministry's performance in 2025 was constrained by several pressing challenges, including infrastructural deficiencies affecting workspaces, inadequate funding and delayed budgetary releases, as well as human rights concerns such as prison overcrowding and limited access to legal aid. AGF Agbemi stressed that without increased budgetary support and legislative reforms, efforts to modernize the justice sector and address emerging legal issues would remain difficult. In their response, members of the committee urged the ministry to thoroughly review its proposal and identify priority areas that require improvements to ensure greater efficiency and measurable impacts in the justice sector.
And then we're looking for a supplementary budget. So I want the ministry to also, this is the budget period. If you believe that this will take care of all your requests, fine. But if the event, after our visit and all the comments we made, there is a desire to improve this budget, you can also make the point now, and we will tell you what to do, so that it will form part of our defense at the appropriation committee.
God bless you.
He's right there, and he appreciates the complexity of the challenge, as it were. Because as a nation, we are worried as a Senate about the delays in releases. And a number of us share that opinion, that the old system is better. Because the delay is dangerous, especially when it affects the justice sector, which is at the heart of our social cohesion.
Away from that, the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Alhaji Mohammed Idris, says effective communication is critical to the success of public service reforms, warning that reforms not properly understood could face resistance from Nigerians. Speaking during a courtesy visit by the Bureau of Public Service Reforms, the minister commended the agency for driving institutional changes across federal MDAs. He described the digitization of the public financial management system as a major milestone, enhancing transparency, accountability, and eliminating paper-based leakages in government institutions and transactions. Idris stressed that structural reforms must be matched with attitudinal change, civic responsibility, and patriotism. He noted ongoing efforts to digitize archival systems, promote media and information literacy, and shield the public service from misinformation and emerging AI-driven threats. The minister assured the agency that under his ministry, he would continue to amplify reform milestones to keep citizens informed. He emphasized that collaboration with BPSR is vital for sustaining reforms, strengthening compliance with the Freedom of Information Act, and boosting citizens' engagement. The federal government reaffirmed that its reform agenda goes beyond policy, focusing on communication, institutional integrity, and technological-driven service delivery. In another development, Minister of Information and National Orientation Alhaji Mohammed Idris says Nigeria is committed to strengthening bilateral relations with Saudi Arabia through expanded cooperation in media, economy, and security. The minister made this known while receiving the Saudi ambassador to Nigeria, Yusuf bin Mohammed Al-Balwali, and his delegation in Abuja. Idris described the visit as a strategic step towards deepening institutional collaboration and confirmed Nigeria's endorsement of 3 memorandum of understanding in media and communication, covering news exchange, radio and television broadcasting, and audiovisual cooperation. He said the agreement would promote professional exchanges, balanced information flow, and stronger media diplomacy. The minister also reaffirmed Nigeria's readiness to work with Saudi Arabia on multilateral platforms, including the Organization of Islamic Cooperation and UNESCO, to advance global peace, intercultural dialogue, and sustainable development. Discussions also focused on resuming direct flights between Abuja and Jeddah, as well as continued facilitation of Hajj and Umrah for Nigerian pilgrims. Ambassador El Balawi reaffirmed Saudi Arabia's commitment to cooperation across media, economic, security, and religious sectors, as both countries pledged to deepen strategic partnerships and cultural ties. The Nigerian Senate has called for sustained training, capacity building, and enhanced safety programs for personnel of the Federal Road Safety Corps. Chairman of the Senate Committee on Federal Character and Intergovernmental Affairs, Orwell Onyeso, Rivers East, made the call during the agency's 2025 budget performance review in considerations for its 2026 budget proposal. He stressed that continuous professional development is essential to maintaining efficiency, discipline, and effective service delivery in road safety operations nationwide. Presenting the agency's report, FRS Corps Marshal Shehu Mohammed disclosed that the Commission generated over 4 billion naira in revenue in 2025 from fines, number plate registrations, and driver's license deductions. He also announced a proposed 2026 budget of 129 billion naira for the Commission.
We have the internally generated revenue projection for 2026 to 2028, where we are expecting to generate 6.12 billion for 2020, where 6.12 billion was generated for 2025, and then we're expecting to generate almost the same amount for 2026, and then 2027 and 2028. That's page 26.
The Senate committee commended the Commission for renewed professionalism and prompt response to road safety matters, despite funding challenges, but reiterated the need for continuous training of officers in active service.
I want to, outside the purely arithmetical presentation here, like my colleagues here have said, your core mandate is very, very vital. If I get to some places, I find vehicles broken down, particularly on the road, for days. And I feel a little worried because you find out also that as a result of the first accident, another accident occurs.
I appeal that you continue to train them. There's the need for continuous training, not continually, continuous, because they come out every day. And then, I also, anyway, that is a thing for the law now, that your response to emergency is very swift, and that if there's any way you can collaborate with other emergency agencies, and we say keep it up.
In a related development, the acting national coordinator of SEVICOM, Helen Lowell, lamented that the agency lacks sufficient statutory powers to enforce efficiency and accountability across government institutions. While presenting the agency's 2026 proposal of 965 million naira, she appealed to the National Assembly to pass legislation strengthening SEVICOM's mandate to demand compliance from ministries, departments, and agencies.
The first will be our bill, because before the national coordinator retired, the bill, she tried her best to see if the bill could pass, because that is what we empower SEVICOM. A lot of things we can't do now to the optimum because our bill has not been passed. We can only back, we can't bite, sir. So we'll appeal to this committee if they can assist us to ensure that that bill is passed. Second prayer is in the area of vehicles. We have just 2 old vehicles, and for SEVICOM, we oversee and supervise service delivery initiative in all ministry, department, and agency in Nigeria. And we don't just go to the offices in Abuja. We visit all the offices across the nation, different geopolitical zones, and we do a lot of advocacy. We do monitoring, evaluations, and even mystery shopping. And all these involve use of vehicles. It will be sad to let you know that there are sometimes even our staff go on public taxi to carry out the Servicom duties. So we appeal for your intervention if we can get vehicles.
The Senate also called for improved funding for the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Study, NIPS, alongside Servicom's operations. The committee encouraged both agencies to sustain reforms and assured them of improved budgetary considerations to enhance institutional performance.
I sympathize with you very deeply. I understand the problems you face. The paucity of funding, although it is not akin to your agency alone, it's a general problem. But I know that you're doing your best.
The Senate further received the 2026 budget proposals of 6.5 billion naira for the Federal Character Commission, 4.5 billion naira for the Office of the Surveyor General of the Federation, and 22.2 billion naira for the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation for legislative consideration. Chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC), Professor Joash Amupiton SAN, has raised concerns over incidences of misconduct recorded during the recent FCT Area Council election, vowing that those found wanting would face sanctions. He spoke at a meeting with resident electoral commissioners in Abuja. Professor Amupiton described as unacceptable the late opening of polling units, revealing that only 45% commenced accreditation by 8:30 a.m. on election day. He disclosed that some staff in Kuje Area Council and Kabusa Ward have been queried over logistical failures, while a transporter responsible for delays in Kwali Area Council has been blacklisted. The INEC boss.
And I must emphasize that there is no room for error or excuse in this crucial process.
The INEC boss also addressed the invasion of the Kuje Central Coalition Center by thugs, as well as a similar incident in Kwali. He said the situation was promptly brought under the control and results were eventually collated, but stressed that such breaches must not recur.
The Kuje Central Coalition Center was invaded by thugs during collation, and also another center in Kwali Area Council. The ugly incidents were squarely addressed, and the results were finally collated without much ado. We must continue to strengthen our engagement with the security agencies and stakeholders in your various states. Elections must be peaceful, not by accident, but by deliberate planning and coordination.
On allegations of results manipulation at Kurokoro Health Center polling units in Yongoji Ward, Kwali, Professor Amupiton clarified that investigations revealed a clerical error by a presiding officer, which was corrected before final collation. He reaffirmed that while no election is perfect, INEC would not tolerate indiscipline or negligence as it moves to strengthen oversight ahead of future polls. Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare has urged health regulatory bodies to strengthen standards and ensure strict compliance in line with the federal government's renewed budgetary support. Minister of State for Health, Ishak Adekule Salako, made the call while commissioning the Southeast Zonal Office of Radiographers, Registration Board of Nigeria in Enugu. He said the step aligns with the Health Sector Renewal Investment Initiative. Malpractice and negligence. The minister tasked the board with upholding ethical standards and prioritizing patients' welfare, warning that violators would face sanctions. He added that the new office would enhance registration, licensing, compliance monitoring, and professional development for radiographers in the southeast and adjoining regions. Bayelsa State Chief Judge Justice Matilda Abakasa Ayemeye has administered the oath of office on the state's new Deputy Governor, Peter Akpe. The ceremony, supervised by Governor Doyediri, took place at the State Executive Chambers Government House, Yenogwa. Until his nomination and subsequent confirmation by the Assembly, the Deputy Governor, Dr. Peter Akpe, was the Chief of Staff, Government House in Yenogwa. He became the 6th Deputy Governor of Bayelsa State under the diplomatic dispensation from 1999 following the demise of his predecessor, Senator Lawrence Eru Jakbo, on December 11, 2025. ADBN correspondent Achinonu Temple reports that 8 permanent secretaries also took an oath of office at the executive chambers. This report will be filed in subsequent news bulletins. In other news, Nasarawa State Governor Engineer Abdullahi Sule says there is clear progress and a definite completion timeline for the Kefi flyover project. The governor gave the assurance after inspecting the construction site and interacting with engineers handling the project. ADBN correspondent Mary Ogigi completes the report. You're watching ADBN News at 7. Stay with us for more news stories and reports after the break.
For your news on the go, ADBN is everywhere you are. Stay connected with us across all our social media and streaming platforms for exclusive news updates, captivating stories, and more. Join the ADBN community today via our various platforms. Anavo TV app, ADBN Channel 121, Niger TV app, ADBN TV, Linuxwell TV app. To get the latest news straight to your phone, join our WhatsApp TV channel. Just search for ADBN TV and hit the follow button. Turn on your notification to stay updated and never miss any part of the experience. Stay in the conversation with us across social media handles. On X at ADBN TV, Instagram at ADBN TV, Facebook ADBN TV, YouTube ADBN TV. Keep visiting our website on www.adbntv.com. Watch us live anytime, anywhere. ADBN TV, a part of you.
Welcome back. You're watching ADBN News live on ADBN Television. And now, the rest of the news. Nasarawa State Governor Engineer Abdullahi Sule says there is clear progress and a definite completion timeline for the Kefi flyover project. The governor gave the assurance after inspecting the construction site and interacting with engineers handling the project. ADBN correspondent Mary Ogigi completes the report.
It was an on-the-spot assessment for Governor Abdullahi Sule as he stopped over at the Kefi flyover construction site to evaluate the pace and quality of work. The governor held detailed discussions with site engineers who assured him that the work remains on course, with sections of the project expected to be delivered in phases before final completion in October 2026.
Every beginning has an end. So for that reason, this work also will have an end. And to be fair to them, the speed at which they are moving is actually not a very bad speed at all.
He explained that early stages of the construction were slowed by technical challenges, including the presence of a major water pipeline running from the Goody Water Works through the project corridor to the Maloney Hill storage facility. According to him, contractors had to carefully protect the line to avoid disrupting water supply to residents. Traffic management also posed difficulties as diverting vehicles through alternative routes would have created more hardship for commuters. Instead, phased construction is now ongoing, allowing traffic to flow on one side while work progresses on the other.
All indication what they are confirming to me, this will be completed somewhere around April. Then they can now move to the next site, which also may be completed, maybe another 3 months from there. So definitely the contract will be completed in time. Our number one mission is to ensure that we award the contract, we commission the contract, we pay for the contract before another government comes in.
On the Akwanga underpass, Governor Sule stated that the structure is technically completed, with commissioning expected around April after final works on the bypass are concluded. Mary Ujiji, ADBN News.
Bayelsa State Chief Judge Justice Matilda Abaraka Ayemei has administered the oath of office on the state's new Deputy Governor, Dr. Peter Akpe. The ceremony, supervised by Governor Doyediri, took place at the State Executive Chambers, Government House, Yenogwa. Until his nomination and subsequent confirmation by the Assembly, the Deputy Governor, Dr. Peter Akpe, was the Chief of Staff, Government House in Yenogwa. He became the 6th Deputy Governor of Bayelsa State under the Democratic Dispensation from 1999, following the demise of his predecessor, Senator Lawrence Erujakbo, on December 11, 2025.
Continuity, competence, commitment, character, and above all, God-fearing, and of proven integrity to uphold the ethics of public service. And I found one in Dr. Peter Akpe. The State House of Assembly, ably led by a very prolific speaker, considered his nomination with what I will describe as the speed of light. And I owe this to my former colleague in the House of Representatives, Honorable Osai O. Osai from Delta State. And in the same day, he was cleared. And today, we are witnessing the formal inauguration and swearing in as constitutionally required by the Chief Judge of our dear state.
I gather here to administer the prescribed oath, which presents a solid commitment to uphold the principles of justice and equity, and a pledge to serve the people with integrity, dedication, and unwavering commitment for the common good. I'm very convinced that the Deputy Governor designate who is about to give this oath has all it takes and is fully prepared to embrace these responsibilities. Thus, as we proceed, I urge you, as Deputy Governor designate, to reaffirm your commitment to the Constitution of our great nation and to the people of Bayelsa State.
As the Deputy Governor of Bayelsa State, I will discharge my duties to the best of my ability, faithfully, in accordance with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
ADBN TV correspondent Chinonu Temple reports that 8 permanent secretaries also took the oath of office at the executive chambers. As part of efforts to promote inclusive economic empowerment and sustainable livelihood for persons with disabilities, a local organizing committee has been inaugurated to coordinate planning and fund mobilization for the establishment of farm cities across Nigeria's 6 geopolitical zones. The initiative, facilitated by the National Commission for Persons with Disabilities, under the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction in partnership with the Peace for Humanity Foundation, was formally launched in Abuja. Speaking at the inauguration, Minister of Budget and Economic Planning Abubakar Atiku Bagudu underscored the importance of integrating persons with disability into Nigeria's agricultural value chain. He noted that proposed farm cities would not only enhance food security, but also provide structured empowerment, employment, skills, development, and financial independence for beneficiaries.
This is consistent with Mr. President's commitment, which has been initiated earlier in the Renewed Hope agenda, that we must deliberately focus on building a society that works for all. Inclusivity is an absolute necessity in any social justice, and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is determined that we will include everyone. In fact, not only that, he has directed, and we are working on that national development plan that will see a $1 trillion economy by the year 2030. And included in that is to ensure that we end extreme poverty. And we can only achieve both by focusing on the need of everyone.
Representatives of state governors and development partners, as well as security agencies at the event, pledged their support, describing the initiative as a strategic step towards inclusive national development. They stressed the need for collaboration between federal and state governments, the private sector, and international partners to ensure sustainability.
General Christopher Gwabi Musa, as a person, is very passionate about this kind of endeavors, and will go the whole length to support this endeavor.
Farm cities, if thoroughly and thoughtfully designed and sustainably implemented, can become hubs of productivity, like we heard from the Honorable Minister. Hubs for skills development, hubs for innovation and dignity. However, for this vision to succeed, collaboration will be essential.
We commend the vision behind this initiative, and we are delighted that Akwa Ibom State is among the first 6 pilot states to host this transformative project. This is not merely about agriculture. It is about empowerment, inclusion, and creating sustainable livelihoods for persons with disabilities across our nation.
I really appreciate these very loudly and very important projects that will make our people to become self-reliant. I always said an example, the only difference between person with disability and the person with non-disability is poverty. So if the members of our community become self-reliant, have something to do, as our minister earlier mentioned, farming is an entrepreneur. If really our members engage in farming, you will not see the difference between person with disability and person with non-disability.
President of Peace for Humanity Foundation, Dr. Godwin Thompson, highlighted that beyond farming, the farm cities would incorporate training centers, agro-processing facilities, and residential components to foster community and long-term empowerment.
Person with disability is over 38 million now in Nigeria, though that is not correct because there's no absolute data, but there are over 38 million. They are up to 40 or 47. So, and they have been rejected. You cannot find it. It's only in dirty places, it's on the road, money, trying to scramble for what they can sustain them. We believe that it is not the idea of the 21st century knowledge economists that we have to make sure that we put all things in place. This program today, select expert that is going to help in the planning of the modernization of farm cities. We are looking for 70 billion of it would take about 9 or 6 states in the country for demonstration And this will add to Nigerian economic growth. This will add to the GDP growth. This will alleviate poverty amongst persons with stability. This will also reduce crime.
The community is expected to develop a comprehensive roadmap, drive stakeholder engagement, and spearhead resource mobilization efforts to ensure the successful rollout of the farm cities nationwide. No fewer than 200 vulnerable households in Kaduna State, including persons living with disabilities, elderly patients, and other underprivileged residents, have received food support as part of a Ramadan and Lenten outreach aimed at easing economic hardship and promoting religious harmony. The items distributed include rice, cooking oil, sugar, salt, and seasoning cubes. Benefited both Christian and Muslim families across Kaduna North and Kaduna South local government areas. The organizers calling for revitalization of government social welfare programs to sustain support for vulnerable groups. For many vulnerable families in Kaduna State, this year's Ramadan and Lent are marked by rising food prices and shrinking incomes, deepening hardship for widows, the elderly, persons with disabilities, and the unemployed. In response, the Voice of the Girl, Child, and Vulnerable People Foundation, in collaboration with Muslim Charity UK, distributed food packs to 200 Christians and Muslim beneficiaries, stressing that vulnerability, not religion, guided the selection process. Executive Director Aisha Bello said the initiative aims to cushion hardship and restore hope during the fasting season, urging governments at all levels to strengthen social investment programs to complement humanitarian efforts.
Saw the need to help people. You know, this is a holy month, and there are a lot of people that struggle with feeding and all. These are family people. So we decided to reach out to poor and vulnerable within our communities, most especially families, women with children, the unemployed, the people with disability. We're able to reach 200 beneficiaries covering Kurumimashi community, Abakwa and Ongwenshanu, Benue Street, and here, Jane. Looking at our distribution, we didn't just give to Muslims. Christians were also involved because we believe in humanity first than religion. Going around the streets and communities, seeing people really, really in need, I think we need to do more.
Country Coordinator of Muslim Charity UK Nigeria, Damaris Jeremiah, described Ramadan as a season of generosity and compassion, noting that the intervention cuts across religious lines.
Ramadan is a month of generosity, so we want to remind, or we want to let the vulnerable families know that they are not left alone, that there are people out there who is concerned about them. And this food distribution was not just for Muslims, we also support Christians that are from vulnerable homes, support human beings that are in dire need of help. So this sharing of Ramadan food packs is just to show them that there are people out there that love and care for them.
Religious leaders in the state commended the initiative, describing it as timely and impactful, especially for widows and low-income families who struggle to afford meals during fasting.
It will help the people because we brought the widows and the people that have poverty. They don't have anything for fasting, so they will appreciate. They will take it as a donation.
Some beneficiaries expressed satisfaction, noting that the food packs represent more than relief materials but symbols of solidarity, compassion, and renewed hope in difficult times.
I am happy and I'm praying for them. May God enlighten their God, look after them, as they no let hungry kill people, their own. God will help them in Jesus' name.
Happy. This year we are very happy. You know, it's Ramadan season. You're supposed to be helping each other with your neighbors, yes, and it's going to help me with them.
The intervention reflects the urgent need for sustained collaboration between government and humanitarian organizations to address rising poverty and food insecurity across the country, insisting that structured and consistent social welfare interventions remain critical to protecting Nigeria's most vulnerable citizens. And on to news from the sports desk. Edo State's Omosiwe Esenoge delivered a remarkable comeback performance to clinch gold in the women's high jump at the ongoing Niger Delta Games. After battling a 2-year injury setback, the athlete cleared a personal best height of 1.75 meters to secure top spot on the podium, marking her return to competitive form. An emotional Eseogene credited her family and coaches for their unwavering support and encouragement throughout her recovery journey, also expressing appreciation to the Niger Delta Development Commission for providing a platform through the Games to showcase emerging talents. Looking ahead, the high gold medalist says her immediate target is to improve her mark to 1.80 meters, a height she believes would strengthen her chances of securing athletic scholarship abroad.
I jumped my personal best here, like my personal best, 175, but it's not a PB, just my personal best. I feel happy because I didn't expect to jump that height because I have injury over 2 years, and I'm glad and I'm thankful for my coaches, thankful for God, my mom, everybody for encouraging me. It's not easy, training is not easy, and for my state depending on me, it's not easy too, so I want to tell them thank you. First thing is to make my mom and God proud of me, even my coaches. And I'm hoping to jump 180, 181 to maybe find a scholarship abroad. I want to thank them for allowing us to come here today to perform. And also I encourage others to break PB because many people broke PB here. I want to say thank you for the opportunity.
In other sports news, Turkish champions Galatasaray held off a spirited comeback from 10-man Juventus as Victor Osimhen scored in extra time to secure a 7-5 aggregate victory and send the visitors into the last 16 of the UEFA Champions League on Wednesday night. Having taken a commanding 5-2 advantage from the first leg in Istanbul, Galatasaray arrived in Turin with a strong cushion. However, the host responded with urgency in front of their supporters at the Allianz Stadium. Goals from Manuel Locatelli, Federico Gatti and Winston McKennie forced the tie into extra time, as Juventus drew level in aggregate despite being reduced to 10 men. With fatigue beginning to show, Galatasaray's composure ultimately proved decisive. Osimhen raced onto a through ball in extra time and finished calmly to restore the visitors' aggregate lead before Bari's Alper Yilmaz later added another goal. The victory confirms Galatasaray's place in the knockout stage, where they would face either Liverpool or Tottenham Hotspur in the round of 16. Vinicius Jr. was on target as Real Madrid secured a place in the UEFA Champions League round of 16 with a 2-1 victory over Benfica. The Brazilian forward had been the center of attention in the build-up to the match after alleging that he was racially abused by Gianluca Prestiani during the first leg, in which he scored the only goal of the game. Prestiani was subsequently handed a 1-match suspension and therefore missed Wednesday night's return fixture. Before kickoff, supporters inside the stadium displayed a banner reading "No to Racism" in Spanish, showing their support for Vinicius Jr. On the pitch, the forward ensured the focus returned to football as he scored the decisive goal with 10 minutes remaining, finishing clinically across the goalkeeper to seal a 3-1 aggregate victory for the Spanish side. Real Madrid will now face either Manchester City or Sporting CP in the last 16, with the draw scheduled for Friday. And that's it on ADBN TV News this morning. Remember to watch us live on DSTV channel 258, on StarTimes channel 140, Avo TV app, Limex World TV app and Niger TV app. For more stories, visit our website on www.adbntv.com. You can also watch us live from every part of the world by logging on to www.adbntv.com/live. I am Beat O'Brien, thanking you for watching. The rest of the Morning Express show continues shortly after this break. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Niger Delta, a region of incredible beauty and stark contrast. From its breathtaking landscapes to its rich cultural heritage, this is a place where history and modernity collide. But beneath this serene surface lies a story of struggle and resilience. The Niger Delta is the lifeblood of Nigeria's economy, home to vast oil reserves that fuel the nation, yet it It is a land where the people fight for their share of the wealth. Join us on the program Niger Delta Today as we explore the heart of the Niger Delta, discover the vibrant cultures, the struggles for environmental justice, and the stories of the people who call this place home. This is the Niger Delta, a land of contrast, a story of resilience, a journey of hope. Don't miss our exclusive series, Niger Delta Today, every day at 12 noon, only on ADBN TV. Witness the untold stories, experience the journey, be part of the change.
On the go. ADBN is everywhere you are. Stay connected with us across all our social media and streaming platforms for exclusive news updates, captivating stories, and more. Join the ADBN community today via our various platforms. An Avo TV app, ADBN Channel 121, Niger TV app, ADBN TV, Linux Well TV app. To get the latest news straight to your phone, join our WhatsApp TV channel. Just search for ADBN TV and hit the follow button. Turn on your notification to stay updated and never miss any part of the experience. Stay in the conversation with us across social media handles. On X at ADBN TV, Instagram at ADBN TV, Facebook ADBN TV, YouTube ADBN TV. Keep visiting our website on www.adbntv.com. Watch us live anytime, anywhere. ADBN TV, a part of you.
The global business is never static. Watch the market report on ADBN TV for business information, latest happening business deals, government economic policies, stock, crude oil and commodity trading, financial upstick and downstick, and the world of organized private sector. The market report showing on ADBN TV 1 to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday. The market report bringing you up to speed in the business world.
Step into the heartbeat of the world where news meets real talk. From breakthroughs in diplomacy to humanitarian challenges and scientific milestones, Global Digest takes you beyond the headlines and straight to the heart of the matter. I am Amma Marcus. Be a part of the world unfolding stories at 3 p.m. on ADBN, channel 258 on DSTV, and Star Times, channel 140. Global Digest, your window to the world's current affairs, only on Advocate Broadcasting Network.
The overall function of the Parliament is adequate representation of their constituents in state echoes to federation.
Removal of fuel subsidy, resources to critical sectors such as education and health. A call to unity and progress of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
NAS Unplugged is a program that will highlight topical issues from both chambers of the National Assembly, from bills, motions, and constituency projects.
Guys have it.
Catch the program on ADBN TV, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, as we bring you activities of the National Assembly as it affects the people.
During the flood disaster in Maiduguri and its environs.
For increase in the number of judges in the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. The eyes have it.
NAS Unplugged, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8 p.m.
In a world of overwhelming voices where everyone has different opinion on different issues, it is important that we bring the core issue to the fore. Join me Nancy Bonigo on Softline as we lend our voices to inform and influence your thoughts and actions. This is not just mere talk, it is an invocative program that touches the core of our existence.
Welcome to FCT in Focus, your window to the vibrant heartbeat of Nigeria's capital. We dive deep into the core of the FCT, exploring how key policies and decisions shape lives across the city. From exclusive insights into the FCT administration to voices from the streets, we bring you stories that matter. Catch FCT in Focus every Saturday and Sunday at noon. Tune in for the latest stories directly from the nation's hearts.
In a world constantly in flux, news moves fast, stories collide, opinions swirl. Who helps you make sense of it all?
It's me, ADBN, of course. Every week, I take you beyond the headlines, cutting through the maze, asking the tough questions, and spotlighting the stories shaping our world.
From politics to culture, business to global affairs, community pulse to everything that defines human existence, News Eddies brings you the currents that matter. Stay informed, stay ahead.
Join me, Eddie Ekpenyong, for News Eddies, 9 p.m. every Sunday on ADBN TV.
It doesn't take a pandemic or an epidemic to know that clean hands save lives. Hand washing is essential anytime, anywhere to protect your health. So keep washing your hands, not just when they're dirty, but even on the go. Stay safe, stay healthy, keep your hands clean.
Do you know what gamalin 20 is? It is a dangerous chemical pesticide never meant for human consumption. Sadly, some fishermen illegally use gamalin 20 to catch fish, poisoning not just the water, but the food on your plate. Here's how to spot fish caught with gamalin 20. Fish that look unusually fresh but stiff. A strange chemical smell, sometimes like kerosene, when cooked. Pale or bleached gills, peeling scales, or sunken eyes. Eating such fish can cause nausea, vomiting, and even damage your liver and kidneys. In severe cases, it can lead to life-threatening health complications. Remember, using gamalin 20 for fishing is a crime. It harms people, rivers, and marine life. Protect your health. Buy fish only from trusted sellers. Report suspicious fishing practices to the authorities. Together, let's keep our waters safe and our meals healthy.
Welcome back to Morning Express. Now let's head straight to the front pages this morning. A very good morning to you. My name is Chijoke Okafor. I won't be doing this alone. Joining me in the studio as well is Francisca Oga. A very good morning to you, Francisca.
Good morning, Chijoke.
It's good to have you here, looking bright as ever.
Oh yeah, not as bright as you.
Anyway, the new acting Inspector General of Police, DSU, has been tasked by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to ensure that he restores peace and rebuild public confidence in the Nigerian police. Of course, this was during the decoration made by Mr. President at the Presidential Villa in Abuja yesterday. And it's captured on quite a number of pages, front pages of newspapers this morning. The Nigerian News Direct, the Daily Independent, the Nation newspaper, the Daily Monitor, and the Daily Courier has a slightly different twist to it, which talks about Mr. President's decision to ask the Nigerian Senate to fast-track moves on state policing in the country. But remember that we always read the stories out as published under the strict editorial guidelines of the newspaper houses, and they do not in any way represent our stand or position here at ADBN Television. We'd also be more than excited to hear from you. Comment across our social media pages, leave a review, or whatever it is that you want to say about any topic of interest on our socials. Well, that record being set straight, let's pick up the Nigerian News Direct first with a headline story. Tinubu tasks acting IGP to restore peace and build confidence in the police. You can find this story continued on news page 15 of the Nigerian News Direct. Now, away from the headline story, let's see what it looks like right above the masthead. Adamawa Speaker, 7 others exit PDP amid Fintry's rumored defection. Reps to review Tobacco Act over e-cigarette vape concerns. Odua Investment Company targets 1 trillion naira asset base. And on the rider, let's see some 2 stories. Federal government secures $100 million investment to expand national fiber network. Thrive Agric CEO advocates for data-driven agri-finance at Cairo Summit. And you can find picture here capturing Secretary General of the France-Nigeria Business Council, Jean Haas, founder and chairman of Zenith Bank PLC, Dr. G. Movia, and GMD of Zenith Bank PLC, Dame Adora Omoji, at the 2026 Paris International Agricultural Show. These are stories on the Nige News Direct.
Let's take a look at the Daily Courier, where you have the major story. Tinubu pushes senators to amend the constitution now for state pleas. There's a strapline that says, tax new acting IGP Disu, restore peace, security, you have my full support. Of course, the picture of prominence you have there says, President Bola Tinubu decorating the new Inspector General of Police, Tunji Disu, assisted by the wife of Disu at the State House yesterday evening. Away from that, let's look at other stories. We have Nigeria nears fuel self-sufficiency as Dangote refinery supplies 65 million plus liters petrol daily. And some feature stories, the INEC to revise 2027 general election timetable following enactment of the new Electoral Act 2026. We equally have the PSC, that's the Police Service Commission, begin screening for 50,000 police constable recruitment on March 19. Below that, APC inaugurates 2026 National Convention Committees. Israel accounts for 84 out of 129 journalist killings in 2025. And lastly, on this paper at the bottom, we have Ajibade, Monday 9, orders report to camp for Cameroon friendly. At the very top of the paper, just below the masthead, you have Naira gains 0.7% in black market after CBN cuts interest rate. That's all we have on the Daily Courier front page this morning.
Well, let's move on to yet another daily this morning. The Daily Independent newspaper still has comments of Mr. President to the new acting IGP, Tunji Disu. Restore trust, discipline in police, Tinubu tells new IGP. One strapline says, era of impunity, abuse of human rights over. Now, this is as declared by Disu himself. Federal government poised to tackle states' industrial challenges, says Vice President Senator Kashim Shettima. Broadband expansion drives telecom subscription to 179 million. Now to some stories on the left and right side of the Daily Independent. Why NRS is eyeing 40.7 trillion naira revenue for 2026 by Adedeji. Oil probe. NAS reads riot act to Edun. MDA heads. Benin attack, APC proven to be terrorist organization, says the ADC. Gunmen attack church in Ondo, abduct 6 worshippers. Now you can find picture of prominence here capturing President Bola Tinubu alongside Olatunji Disu, acting Inspector General of Police, and his wife during the decoration of the newly appointed acting IGP at the presidential villa in Abuja on Wednesday. Photo credit goes to the State House. Now on the rider, external bleeding is the catchphrase in red. Nigeria loses $4.1 billion as services deficit widens. An APC set stage for 2026 convention, raises planning committee. These are the stories on the Daily Independent.
Let's go straight to the Nation newspaper, where you have the major story, Tinubu to Disu, restore security. And then above the masthead there, we see opposition lacks serious policy discussion. This is coming from Agbakuba. The next story there is, President says amend Constitution to embed state police. That could be seen on news page 3 of the Nation. And we have Adamawa lawmakers in mass defection from PDP. Air-to-ground communication equipment gone in Murtala Mohammed International Airport fire. You can read that up on page 54, page 4, sorry, of the paper. And the major picture you see that on this paper is Tarita Security Services Nigeria welcoming Her Excellency Senator Oluremi Tinubu to Warri. She's been tagged Mother of Nigeria. That's it on the Nation this morning.
Well, the Daily Monitor leads next. On the Daily Monitor, Mr. President to acting IGP. You have my full support. Restore peace and security nationwide. Says Nigeria confronted with banditry, terrorism, and other criminal activities. Disu pledges to prioritize citizens' welfare, police professionalism. Now let's see the rider story before we get back to the top above the masthead. While we will file complaints against APC at ECOWAS court over Edo attack, ADC threatens, says Nigeria, Edo State, not the personal property of any party or any governor. Now, of course, much like other papers, you can find the declaration of Mr. Tunji Disu, the new acting IGP, by Mr. President, alongside Disu's wife at the presidential villa in Abuja yesterday. Now, let's see some stories above the masthead. How Peter Obi and I escaped attack in Edo State. Now, this is a revelation made by the African Democratic Congress chieftain, Akpata, former Edo State governorship candidate of the Labour Party, rather. And you'd also find other stories. Tinubu approves extension of ban on raw shea nut exports. ICPC denies a Rufai's nosebleed in custody, says investigation ongoing. In Zamfara State, federal government warns mining operators against misuse of explosives. Lastly, 4 years after, DSS nabs 6th Owo Church terrorist, top ISWAP commander.
Okay, now we're going to be going to the Punch newspaper, where the major story we see there is Disu declares total war on police corruption impunity. Straplines Tinubu decorates acting IGP, demands new Nigeria police force. Equally have Nigerians are my bosses, Disu pledges. We have time is up for lawless dirty officers, says the new IG. On the picture of prominence there, again you see him being decorated. Wife of the acting Inspector General of Police, Mrs. Olufumilola Disu, her husband Tunji Disu, and President Bola Tinubu during the decoration of the newly appointed acting Inspector General of Police. And you equally have by the side there pictures of the handing over ceremony by the outgoing IGP Kayode Egbetokun in Abuja. All this took place on Wednesday, and again the credit goes to the State House and the Nigerian Police Force for these pictures. Now below that we have labor issues, Friday ultimatum to federal government on wage arrears. Following that, Lautech mourns as 6 nursing students die in road crash. Finally on that line we have 2027 Kwankwanso Makinde hold closed door meeting. And now we'll move above the masthead there, where we have Tinubu to Senate, amend constitution for state police now. Following that is recapitalization, 13 banks race to meet March 31st deadline. And then we have Tinubu's executive order blocks 2 trillion naira NNPC fees. Just beside the masthead you have PDP, Wike, Makinde camps lock horns ahead of March convention. And those are the stories on the front page of the Punch newspaper today.
Well, the Daily Sun newspaper also has the new acting IGP talking tough. Let's see what the Daily Sun says. Well, new IGP talks tough, takes oath of office, says no more impunity in police. Tinubu charges top cop to restore discipline, combat banditry and terrorism. You can find this story elaborated on news page 6 of the Daily Sun newspaper. Right above the headline, 6 worshippers kidnapped during church service in Ondo State. And beside the masthead, Owo church attack, DSS arrests 6th suspect, says ISWAP commander hid in Edo for 4 years. Let's get back to the bottom and see some more stories. FCT elections, INEC chairman admits voter apathy challenges, queries staff, electoral officials, threatens to blacklist transporters involved in delay of election materials. Iziaro says headship of Southern Traditional Rulers Council should be rotational. And South-South governors back Tinubu's executive order on oil revenue remittance. Murtala Mohammed International Airport fire, Nama's air-to-ground systems wiped out. And backup towers deployed. You can find the large picture here capturing Vice President Senator Kashim Shettima, flanked by National Chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Professor Nantawe Yilwatda, Chairman of the Progressives Governors Forum, and Imo State Governor Hope Uzodimma, governors and National Assembly members at the presentation of the Renewed Hope Ambassadors Compendium on the achievements of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu at the Renewed Hope Ambassadors Summit in Abuja yesterday. These are the many stories splashed on the Daily Sun.
Our next stop is the New Telegraph newspaper, where you have the headline story there: Save Nigeria from collapse, end killings, fix elections. This is the Catholic bishops of Nigeria speaking to President Tinubu. They equally say bad leadership, distorted understanding of politics are the major cause of the nation's afflictions. This story is on page 2, 3, and 29 of the New Telegraph. Now let's look above this headline story where we see alleged corruption, ICPC set to arraign El Rufai. We have the stripe line, ex-governor asks court to stop ICPC, EFCC, DSS from blocking his assets. Following that story, we have executed projects while Justice Minister seeks reversal to old payment system. We have 2027 will be a referendum on Tinubu's reform courage, APC. It also says the ADC remains the only option left for Nigeria. This comes from Abdullahi. And then let's go to where we see the FCT poll, INEC query staff for sabotage, blacklist transporter. Of course, the picture of prominence on this paper, just like the others, is that of President Bola Tinubu decorating the newly appointed acting Inspector General of Police Olatunji Disu at the presidential villa yesterday. And then we have restore peace, strengthen security nationwide. Tinubu charges the new acting Inspector General of Police. At the corner of that story, we have tax law. Federal government targets 59.7 trillion naira revenue. Following that, NAFDAC has power to enforce sachet alcohol ban. Health Ministry tells the court. Below the picture of prominence there we see bandit leader counters federal government, insists abducted school kids were ransomed for 60 million naira. On the strapline of this story you see Ondo, gunmen invade church during vigil, abduct worshippers. And in Edo, palace chief killed, 2 daughters abducted. We equally have DSS nabbs 6th Owo church attacker, suspected ISWAP commander hid in Edo village for 4 years. Now let's move to the side of that where you have LP, Labour Party, why Obi lost 2023 presidential election with the strapline Edo attack. Help tame lawlessness in Nigeria. This is coming from Obi. We won't succumb to terror, ADC tells APC. Attack premeditated, that's coming from the group. And then we have the health people warning us there. Not eating 3 hours before bed can improve heart health. Let's now move. Okay, above the masthead there we have banks, cement, telcos drive Nigeria stock market valuation with 112 trillion naira. And we have directly above the masthead, naira sustains sudden decline on official market to 1,356.11 to the dollar. That's it from the New Telegraph this morning.
Well, the Nigerian Tribune has quite a very disturbing story. This is with regards to the most recent terrorist attacks in Ondo and Edo states. On the Nigerian Tribune, gunmen attack Ondo Church, abduct 6 worshippers. Army, police, local vigilante rescue 1, apprehend suspect, and community protests block highway. This story is continued on news page 3 of the Nigerian Tribune. Now, other stories you can find here: over 595 girls, 525 boys forced into armed group in 2024, the UNICEF says. 4 witnesses testify virtually in trial of Alison Madueke. And in health, extended toilet phone use raises hemorrhoid by 46%, researchers warn. You can find on the rider, Tinubu to Disu, you have my full support. Restore peace, lead firmly but fairly. Decorates him as acting IGP. I will prioritize welfare of my men, curb impunity, says Disu. Sanwo-Olu, PCRC, LASU, NASFAT, care guides laud his appointment. Of course, the picture here captures Mr. President decorating the acting IGP. Right above the headline story, Kwankwaso, Makinde in closed-door meeting in Ibadan. Ahead of 2027 polls, Catholic bishops warn against use of state institutions to manipulate elections. And you can find an inserted picture there capturing Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde welcoming Senator Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso during a courtesy visit to the governor's office in Ibadan on Wednesday. These are the stories on the Nigerian Tribune.
Let's take a look at the first daily, where you have the major story there. Gunmen strike in Ondo, Edo. Worshippers abducted, chief killed. We have the strapline, fresh attack heightens security fears as authorities launch manhunt. At the corner of the paper, we see DSS arrest senior ISWAP commander linked to Owo church attack. We equally have court rejects Nasiru El-Rufai's bail plea at John's case. Below that, JAM projects 23.8 billion naira IGR, expands UTME centers nationwide. We have our picture of prominence again showing the president decorating the acting inspector general of police while his wife looks on. And now let's go to the rider, where we have acting IGP Disu vows crackdown on corruption, impunity. Beside that, Corona orders inquest into Arthur Adichie's son's death. We have EPL, that's on the sports side. Chelsea West Ham fined £625,000 after late game brawl. At the very bottom of the paper, you see where the INEC boss orders probe into Kuje Kabosa pool lapses. Now let's go right beside the masthead at the top of the paper, where we have Edo attack won't deter me from serving Nigeria, and this declaration is coming from Peter Obi. That's it from the first daily this morning.
Well, as we look to round off this segment of newspaper headline stories, let's visit the Guardian newspaper, which will be closely followed by our concluding paper, the Daily Trust. On the Guardian newspaper, we hear that the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, is reviewing its timetable for the 2027 general polls as APC consolidates 2027 race. INEC reveals timetable, APC consolidates as 2027 race begins. And on this continued on news page 6 of The Guardian. Lead firmly, restore confidence, Tinubu charges Disu. Ministry affirms NAFDAC's right to enforce sachet alcohol ban. Nigeria underutilizing regional duty-free treaty, says the ECOWAS. Of course, these are the many stories you can find on The Guardian.
Okay, now we have our final paper for this morning, which is the Daily Trust paper. And we have the major story there. DSS releases Walida. And then we see protest as El-Rufai remains in detention. At the writer of this paper, we have era of impunity over. That is coming from the IGP, Disu. Following that, you have 2027, Kwankwaso meets Makinde in Ibadan. Last on that line, you have gunmen kill 25 in twin attacks in Adamawa. Now let's move below the masthead of the paper where we'll see 5 children die in suspected food poisoning, 8 others hospitalized in Taraba. Following that, you have court orders in Dimi to pay daughter $435 million. The last story today on the paper, we have Fintiri set to defect as Speaker, 13 Assembly members dump the PDP. That's all we have today on the Daily Trust newspaper.
Well, this is the entire papers that will, or these are the entire papers that will inform our line of discussion on the program this morning. After the break, we'll be joined by Mr. Ben Agunloye, who is a public affairs analyst, to dissect some of these topical issues. But before that, let's head right back to the presidential villa, where yesterday Mr. President decorated the new acting Inspector General of Police, Mr. Tunji Disu.
The acting IGP, Tunji Disu, your decoration today is not simply a conferment of rank, but a solemn charge to serve Nigeria with courage, integrity, and unwavering commitment to the Constitution. I took this decision for you to assume this responsibility because I know your record. I believe in dedication that you've exhibited while you were in Lagos and I was the governor of Lagos State. And now you assume this responsibility at a defining moment for our nation's security, and expect you to strengthen the discipline, enhance interagency collaboration, and restore public confidence in Nigerian police. Lead firmly but fairly, demand professionalism at every level, and ensure that safety of lives and property remains our highest priority. It's a daunting challenge. I know you can do it. You have my full support as you have to advance the security pillars of Renew Hope agenda. You are a straightforward individual, committed and respected. You have sufficient amount of discipline. And you can draw from experience of Kaudi Agbetokun, who had been there before you. The commitment I need from you is for you to make it better than you met it. And I'm sure you can do it. Nigeria is challenged right now with banditry, terrorism, and all sorts of criminal activities. You've been part of the thinking, and you've been part of the innovation. The challenge as you hold the baton of this leadership is the belief that you will excel and Nigeria will prevail.
The appointment means a lot to me. It means a lot to me because I have the love of my profession, the love of the country, and it came at a time I was not expecting it. That makes me give thanks to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for his magnanimity to see me fit to be appointed as the Inspector General of Police.
Okay, so what would the President seems to believe so much in you. He spoke glowingly of you, of your career. He knows a lot about your past. So what does this do as in form of encouragement towards the assignments you have at hand?
The President mentioning a lot of activities about me, mentioning areas I've worked, mentioning successes I've recorded as a policeman, brought emotion to me, almost brought me to tears. It shows the President took his time to monitor officers working everywhere in the country, and it shows the President was throwing a challenge at me to go out there and do what I'm known for and ensure that I bring peace, recognition and to the country.
Okay, so what
will be your top priority for Nigeria?
My top priority, one of the first lectures I'm going to have with my men, I'm going to talk to them, let them know that the citizen of the country are the boss. It's very, very important for them to know that no police anywhere in the world can succeed without the cooperation of members of the public. I'm going to ensure that I take their welfare into consideration because people who are motivated are putting their best.
So what charge will you be giving to your men and officers for the public to know and keen into your vision for the police?
I will let them know that the area of impunity is over. I will ensure that I train them and encourage them to ensure they follow human rights. I will ensure that they know that I will try to follow a regime of zero tolerance to corruption. And most importantly, I'm going to drum it into them that we can never succeed without the cooperation of members of the public. I will make sure I can say. And most importantly, again, the country is facing a particular problem now, issue of banditry, insurgency. I know all police officers around have been doing their best. They are hardworking people. All I need to do is to channel their morale and their thoughts to making it better.
Mr. Olatunji Disu right there, the new Inspector General of Police, speaking to the press after his declaration by Mr. President at the Presidential Villa in Abuja. Well, joining us in the studio this morning is Mr. Ben Agunle, who is a public affairs analyst and also our guest reviewer for the papers this morning. Very good morning to you, Mr. Ben. Good morning. Thank you so much for availing yourself for this discussion. Well, you've seen Mr. President, you've seen the new acting IGP, you've seen everything that has panned out. And owing to the controversy that has trailed the outgoing IG, Egbetokun, whom a lot of people had stated had gone beyond, far beyond his retirement period as a policeman and even as an IGP. Do you think that this is coming rather a little too late? And what could have prompted this sudden change of mind in Mr. President when he didn't listen to the concerns of some well-meaning Nigerians who had initially raised issues about the IG's tenure?
Well, when you talk about the job of a president, I think in a nation like ours, and perhaps in the presidential system, he is more like a team manager or a coach.
Yeah.
So a coach believes in players and you leave them on the field, irrespective of what anybody has got to say.
Yeah.
At the same time, when you begin to think, okay, the player has picked up an injury, or for whatever reason there is a change of tactics on the opponent's side that would not make the player do well, I think there is nothing wrong in making a substitution. Although as the issue of whether he has overstayed his retirement limit or not, I think that we need to go back and look at the law. Number one, the current Police Act and everything have made the office of the IGP appointment and not promotion. The office of the IGP as it stands today is an appointment. It is not a promotion.
So it has nothing to do with retirement or not retired.
Yeah, so it has nothing to do with your retirement age or your service length to that extent. Because if you are going to say, oh, the IGP will be appointed for a period of 4 years, right? And then you don't want somebody who is already due for retirement, either by age or by years of service appointed. It tells you that majority of the current AIG and the DIGs are not even qualified as well. Because all the DIGs, as it stands today, join the police force as cadets, whether ASP in the case of most of them, or cadet inspector in the case of Frank Mba in 1992. Meaning that all of them have less than 15 months on the job. They should, if you do not retire by age before 18th of May or 17th of May 2027, you should retire by 17th of May, because at that day you would have been in the force effectively for 35 years. So if the maximum any of them had is actually less than 15 months, and we are going to be running into an election year. Now, if you want to follow it by seniority, maybe every month or every other month, somebody will retire in April, some will retire in June, some in November, and then those who will not retire by age will wait till 17th of May. So what you are going to be having is transitions that are so short that nothing effective can be done. So in the minders of those who made the law to say, appoint the IG and give him 4 years, I think that if we are going to say somebody who is 60 or someone who has spent 35 years in service cannot continue, then we are going to readjust the law to ensure that at the point of appointment, whoever is appointed have at least 4 more years in the force, either by age or by years of service. And if we are going to do that, the first time you will do it, there will be over 100 people that will be forced into retirement.
Now, Mr. Ben, one of the concerns I have seen, especially by commentators who have, talked about this transition, is the fact that there are a lot of brilliant minds who are maybe a rank higher than the acting DG, the acting IG DSU now, who will be forced to retire, as is tradition in the Nigerian police or any other, force, military or paramilitary institution in Nigeria. And they singled out individuals like Frank Mba, whom you have also talked about, and they said that ordinarily he should have been the next IG, owing to the fact that he outranks DSU as it stands now, even though DSU had joined the force before him. But due to promotions and the rest, he became a rank higher than DSU.
Well, if we are going to look at that practically, for me, all the DIGs as of today and some of the AIG came on board into the force the same time with DSU, May 18, 1992.
1992.
He came in as an ASP. Mba came in as an inspector.
Did Mba come in 1992 or 1994?
1992. They came in the same time. Okay. But he came in as a cadet inspector. They came in as cadet ASP. So which gives them like 4 or 5 years seniority on the job over, because I think Mba did not become an ASP until 1999 or thereabout. So when you check that tradition, it means that at the point of entry, even though they came in the same day, he was Mba's senior.
Interesting.
So is many of the others. Somewhere along the line, I think until they became ACP, he was still his senior. Now, we know that from DCP to DIG, for some of the people there now, it was not that you wrote an exam that Tunji Disu failed. And you say because he failed promotion exam, that's why they became a senior. No, they rose by virtue of vacancy based on geopolitical zones and some other consideration. And on that ground, you cannot fault the appointment of Disu. Now, when you look at Disu as a person, he was in IRS, he was DPO, he has been CP, he was drafted to replace Abba Kyari in IRT. Now, has anybody found him faulty on his job? I don't think so. While he was DPO and he was in university community, he did a master's there. When he got back to Lagos environment, he did another master. As commandant of the RRS, they call them the good boys. So, in terms of merit, in terms of professionalities, in terms of ability, I think he has not been found wanting. So, all this emphasis of, no, you got to move ahead of him, not because he was deficient, not because he was incompetent. So, if you ask me, the office of the IGP is an appointment and not even under the control of the Police Service Commission. But the DIGs are. So, if we would manage the system well, all the DIGs, the latest any of them can stay on the job is May next year.
Now, quite interestingly, let's get back to Kayode Egbetokun, who had been alleged to have overstayed his retirement age. He had been alleged to overstay his tenure even as an IGP. Could this have been out of the fact that the position itself is now based on appointment and not promotion? And are we likely going to see the same thing replicated with Disu, who is likely going to be retiring in about 15 months?
You see, like we are saying, none of the DIG as of today, right, is qualified by the new act to actually be appointed IGP. That will not have that same complication. If you appoint Frank Umba, he wouldn't be 60 before May 17 next year, but he would have clocked 35 years in service. So if anybody that gets the 4 years appointment from among the very senior that you have today will still have the same complication. So we have two options. Either we repeal that law and remove the 4 years and do what happens in the judiciary, which is the most senior automatically takes the job. The police has also done that at some point in the past. Tafa Balogun retired, the Indero was the most senior, he took over. When the Indero was leaving, he felt because Onovo became AIG before Okiro, he should hand over to Onovo. But somewhere along the line, they came up with the rule that, look, Okiro was senior to Onovo. So even though he thought he should be Onovo, Okiro got the job. And after Okiro came Onovo. Remember, Okiro was never an AIG. When he was commissioned CP in Lagos, Onovo was an AIG. But they became DIG the same day, and somewhere along the line, they went back to maybe point of enlistment and previous seniority, and of course, Okiro came back to the front. So if you're looking at that from Tunji again and Frank Mba, you would also see that at the point of entry, he was actually senior. So I don't think anybody should be forced to retire, but if we base it on that law, none of them will get a 4 years appointment and will not have exceeded 4 years, would not have exceeded 35 years in service or 60 years of age. So rather than we blame Egbetokun or anybody, we should look at the law. Maybe we need to redefine the spirit of the law and say whoever is above 56 and has less than 4 years in service should not be appointed the IGP. But that would also have its own complication somewhere along the line. Or otherwise, we just leave it as it is, while the Police Service Commission continue to manage everybody to the rank of the DIG till their age of 60 or till they are 35 years in service.
Now, Mr. Ben, Mr. President had specifically tasked the new acting IG to do two things, which is to restore peace and also rebuild public confidence in the Nigerian police. Now, when he had stepped out, you saw the video, some of the things he had promised to face head-on is a total war on police corruption within the system, and also an end to police impunity, stating that police officers have to understand that the citizenry are the boss, and that no matter what, without the cooperation of the populace, the Nigerian police cannot work. What do you make of this entire situation? And do you think this is just mere ceremonial talk, or is Disu really hands-on with what he has said?
Well, I don't think it's mere ceremonial talk. He's been DPO in some touchy places. I know Ikare a bit. If you're DPO in Ikare and you didn't have issues, then you must have been a good guy. He's been in charge of the notorious, that's the anti-robbery squad.
Yeah.
He's been in charge at some point. He didn't have issues.
The RRS.
He was in charge of RRS in Lagos for about 6 years. He didn't have issues. He took over from Abakari in IRT. We didn't. So to an extent, I think he's been used to working with the people. Now, take note that also as maybe a sportman, sportmen tends to be closer to the fans and be closer to the people to a large extent. So you can't also take that from him. Even in the last police game, I'm sure he was still there, whether it was a light arm wrestling or whatever he went there to do, but he was possibly maybe one of the most senior officers on ground who had participated in the bipolar police game. So to a large extent, I don't think he is just talking for talking's sake. His line of participation and his line of previous action has shown that he works with the people and he respects the people. Now, in the days of RS, I've known people who said, oh, we called him at 2 a.m. and in 5 minutes, his boys were in our estate to rescue the situation. So, to a large extent, he's got a balance of intelligence work and, of course, actual operational activities. Now, to a large extent, if there is what will account for insecurity in the Nigerian system, you are looking at our intelligence gathering, you're looking at our intelligence response, you are looking at our operational efficiency, and we are looking at our operational effectiveness. I think on these 4 lines, when you rate Tunji Disu, you will consider that he has performed considerably well and has got the right experiences that may be required for anyone who will lead the police.
Now, quite undoubtedly, Disu is one police officer that has been accepted widely all across the country, and even since the news of his appointment broke out, there has been some certain level of acceptance and ecstasy amongst Nigerians. However, do you still think that just maybe the tenure of this new helmsman in the police force will revolutionize the Nigerian police? He had been quoted as stating that time is up for lawless police officers. And we all know the reputation of the Nigerian police, the picture that has been painted in the minds of Nigerians. Do you see officers within the system also working with him, even though he is largely accepted by the citizenry? Will his men within the Nigerian police also align?
Well, like he had said, you need to talk to the men on the inside and you need to work on their welfare. One of the issues with several of the men is the fact that perhaps their welfare are not protected. A situation where you have to go to cooperative store to buy your shoe on your own, to buy your uniform. And so by the time they go out, look at a team on the road, and you are going to discover that the shoes are different, By the time you even check some materials very well, you realize that they wear uniform, but they don't seem to be uniform. So if you're talking about improving the welfare of the people in an environment where there is sound welfare, I can assure you that nobody wants to lose the job. Now, if you don't want to lose the job, and the system is catering for you, is meeting your need, you would also have less need to go out of your way, right, to do the same thing.
Yeah.
In a system where perhaps the children can go to school and possibly have lesser fees to pay, or will not even be bothered about you, they will not be sent out of school just because the police had not met the needs of their fathers. So when you talk about welfare, welfare is a total thing. If that can be done and appropriately done in the area of education, in the area of health, in the area of living condition, if you can improve on that, it becomes easy to manage the system. Yeah. In those days, one of the things that enforced the discipline in the military is the fact that somebody asks you to go and guard a NEPA installation, which we today calls PHCN. He brings your breakfast before 8, brings your lunch before 1, and your dinner meets you at that post. Your children are in the army children's school. Your families are sick. Somebody in the barrack, get them to the MRS. They don't have to call you. Yes. You don't have to pay anything. So why would you be distracted at that duty post for the 2 weeks that you are there?
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing. But when it now became that you have to be there and you look for your food, you look for how to pay your children's fee in a private school and the rest of that,
and rent is also waiting.
Rent is waiting. A lot of digression will come in. So if he can improve on training and welfare of the men the way he had promised, then with the public acceptance and working with the people, I think that going forward, we will have a better police force, a people police.
Now still staying with this entire conversation around the police, Mr. Ben, Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had pushed for the Nigerian Senate to amend the constitution, to accommodate state policing. Yesterday we talked about this on the program, and one of the concerns raised was how to harmonize the already existing federal police with the state police that will be created. And I know we talked about the Amotekun, the Bubagu, the Hizbah police, and the likes. However, these state police structures will operate all across the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory. How do we ensure that there is no clash of interest between what the state police does and what the federal police has been doing for a very long time?
No, basically there shouldn't be clash of interest. The truth is that as of today, like we would always say, whether it's the police or the army or any of the paramilitary you could think about, we are lean on ground. Very, very lean on ground. We don't have enough boots. And that's practical reality. That also, we have a high rate of unemployment is also very obvious.
Yeah.
State police should actually be one of the ways of getting not just the security right, but also getting the government closer to the people. Definitely, if you say state police, there has to be recruitment, and real people have to be recruited. It's not fictitious figure. It's not vote that can be written or can be manipulated. They have to be real human beings. They have to be real boots on ground. Now, there are areas not covered at all at the moment by the federal police.
Yeah.
There are also duties that they needed to do that they are overstretched. So in the process of making the law, I'm sure that the federal police will be engaged in discussions to know exactly, okay, what roles do they do. Of course, when you go across the UK, there is the Scotland Yard, and then when you get to each of the states, you see Grampian Police, you see this one and that one in the different counties.
Yeah.
So basically, it's working elsewhere.
Same with the United States as well.
It's working elsewhere, so it can also work here. It's just that let's have the law and let's begin to put it to use. The economy on the macro level seems to be doing well.
Fantastically.
But we need it to percolate and get to the grassroots. And I tell you, security is one of the ways to first of all stabilize the grassroots for the economy activities there to boost. And the state police will not just bring the security, it's going to bring the employment, it's going to bring a change in the ecosystem that will eventually promote productivity and will lead to export, and then can actually impact on the economy from the bottom up.
Now let's talk about funding, Mr. Ben. There are states that are generally considered not so affluential in the country without the help of the FARC allocations. States that do not generate the kind of revenue that can sustain them and even run a state police system. I don't want to mention names, but of course, in contrast to places like Lagos, in contrast to places like Rivers, or even the Federal Capital Territory, they are poor states in the country. How do we handle such issues or such situations where a state government cannot fully fund and operate a state police system?
Now, let's come to this. When I think it was Tony Momo's letter to my countrymen on SAP, I read it in secondary school or thereabout, the 7 of them. And I always remember that from those letters, what he stated at then, some of them are still practical today. By the standard of those letters, no state in Nigeria is supposed to be poor. Now, some of the states cannot engender or derive their prosperity effectively, partly maybe because of security concerns and some practical realities. Now, you are looking at what funds do we set aside for the takeoff of the police. If the security is adequate, whether you are going to make your money from agriculture, from trading, from natural resources, which can be above the earth. Some have timber, some have some kind of other trees, and then some have solid minerals. Virtually every state in Nigeria have a thick layer of granite and some other surface rock. So no state is totally expected to be poor. And if the state police, like I said, let's have an initial maybe 6 months to 1 year funding available before takeoff. And then I'm sure that before the 6 months or 1 year will pass, situation would have improved security-wise, that the state will be able to make more money from all its different functions, and things will do better. Years ago, I used to have a friend who would always joke. He said, give the Nigerian police as part of their duty to collect tax and see whether every Nigerian will not pay tax. He said they will collect it and even exceed the target. We know that is just a joke. But if they are present and provide the security, I think that the internally generated revenue across the states will improve. The level of happiness among the people to do things would also be great. Nigerians are we are very enterprising people. We are very collaborative people. We do things. But it's just that when the security is challenged and some other things are pulling them apart, then there will be problem. But when you have the security in place, education will improve, agriculture will improve, commerce will improve, tourism will start. There is no state in Nigeria that cannot do some measure of tourism, attract people and make good money. We have a large population. Hospitality is going to be a good business. But today, people can't travel to some places and can't do some things. Why? Because they are afraid of safety. Security has become the real issue. So if the state police comes, security will improve. Tourism will improve. Markets will improve. Once there is tourism, there will be souvenir. A lot of things are done. Craftsmen are everywhere in Nigeria. So I don't think that sustaining it will be a problem. But the takeoff is a huge challenge. And like we said, at least let there be a provision for 6 months to 1 year
of running
costs in place before takeoff. I'm sure that in 200 days or less, things will have fallen in order, and the state will be able to make more money. So perhaps you are now going to determine a percentage of the revenue will necessarily go into funding the state police, so that at least as you run along, it's not that you are thinking of where to get the money. No, we have made 100 billion from cocoa. This amount goes into police funding. We are not saying they should spend it immediately. No, it stays there, because there might be months in the future where revenue that will come may not be that high. So their spending will still be based on their budget, but the source of revenue should be well defined. So from FAC, this is what we possibly will need to reserve for the police, because you cannot afford the police to go on strike.
All right, quite very brilliant points laid out there by Mr. Ben Agunle. We are still discussing security matters in the country, matters of policing and the proposed state police, which Mr. President has tasked the Nigerian Senate to put at the fore. We'll take a break. When we return, we'll turn our attention to still some security matters, with the Catholic bishops appealing to Mr. President to put an immediate and total end to the killings and banditry and terrorism in the country. Do well to stay with us.
Indivisible commitment to humanity is what we gather here to express to one another tonight. We are committed to Nigeria entity succeeding. We are committed to make law for the welfare, prosperity of the country. I think we are committed together to govern together. I'm very, very happy seeing all of you. It's a great honor. We thank God for the real privilege of breaking the bread together. The season of reflection, sacrifice, compassion, and national unity is reflected by you tonight, and I don't take it lightly. Nigeria is extremely bigger, challenged. We are facing terrorism, banditry, insurgency, but you never fail to make a right response to these calls. What are we asked for tonight is for you to start thinking how best to amend the Constitution to incorporate the state police for us to secure our country, take over our forests from marauders, free our children from fear. All your support that I've enjoyed, I will promise that I will continue to enjoy it and will not take you for granted. While you are careful with banana peel too, and being effective lawmakers, there's no time that is better to express our gratitude to one another than this time. What they call you, any name, any nickname, critics must talk. When they accused me of killing opposition, I didn't have a gun. I could have given myself a license when I have the authority. But I can't blame anybody from jumping out of a sinking ship. If they did, what we have faced that in the challenging period of this country, the terrorism and banditry is causing us the havoc. And we should pull together, unite in a way that our forefathers contemplated to bring about a constitutional democracy and pull us together. They didn't say we should fight. It's a good thing that we are working in harmony. We are looking for a country that evolves, that takes care of its citizens and protects all of us. May God Almighty, who gave us this period, this reference time, to say that there's a coincidence of fasting in a Muslim way, fasting in a Christian way. May God give us that good health to see many more years turn around for us. God Almighty to bless us. Amen. I thank you. I have a lot of credit for both reforms. Without your collaboration, without your inspiration, those reforms are not possible. We are reformists together. What we gave up and what we stopped is a monumental corruption in subsidy. We gave it up. We don't want to participate in monumental corruption, in arbitrage, foreign exchange. You don't have to chase me for dollars. In the past, you could see what Nigeria is today. You should be proud. And I'm glad you are proud of this moment in time. What we are enjoying is stable economy, prosperity beckoning on us. We just need to work hard.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu right there addressing senators the interfaith breaking of fast or iftar at the presidential villa in Abuja. Part of the things Mr. President had charged the senators is to ensure that they fast track the issue of state policing and make it come to fruition. Well, Mr. Ben Agulo is still in the studio with us. Mr. Ben, you have heard Mr. President and some of the concerns he has raised in terms of economic development, human capital development, infrastructural development and the rest, and even security. Now, this is seen as an avenue for the president to discuss with, key stakeholders in the country in a slightly unofficial manner, addressing and sending his demands home. But what do you make of the entire meeting held at the villa?
Well, I will say that the meeting was not one held for the purpose of optics. No much noise about it coming up. Whatever we knew about it came after that the meeting had been held. So I think it was good. Of course, by our culture also we know that a lot of important matters are resolved on the dining table and maybe in informal meeting. That's possibly more of who we are. A lot of things get done and get done well when we do it informally. So I see this as a good move. We only hope that the governors who were there will go back home and of course look at what to do to improve the needs and the lives of their people. Yes, there has been much talk there about the state police. I also think that the forest guard system need not be forgotten. That has been raised since last year. Maybe only 37,000 has been trained by whatever we hear from them till now. Definitely more need to be done in that area. As for state police, well, majority of the governors are now in the same party. So it means it should be easy if the National Assembly passed the law now for us, for the progressive governors to get a buy-in and get 34 of the state assembly to actually pass the law. Because you know there has been issue in the past, local government autonomy, judicial autonomy. You pass it at the national level, you won't even get it debated in up to 24 of the State House of Assembly, and then the law cannot stand. But we hope this time around, having passed this to the senator in the presence of the governors will also go back home, walk around it, and think of what to do. But like we said earlier, state police should just be an act on paper. It should be something that there is adequate provision for the takeoff fund for the first 1 year, in my opinion, and for how you will sustainably fund the police. Security is not cheap, and it is better not to start than to start and not be able to continue. And like the president said, we need to reduce or eliminate the issue of ungoverned spaces. It shouldn't be that we come for this area, we do clearance operation, and then the army moves on. And after some months, what you get is that what? The same animal that you did, the same bandits that you did clearance operation, they would have regrouped and rebuilt because the forest is still available for them. So there has to be that consistent and continuous push from all directions to ensure that there is security. If we have security, prosperity is here with us. Like I would always say, travel and tour is big business in Nigeria. But why do you want to travel or to tour when you are likely going to be kidnapped? Why does anybody today wants to go to Mambila Heights when you know even people who are indigenous and are important are afraid to move around freely in Taraba and Adamawa? But where there is security, like we said, there will be tourism. Where there is tourism money is not federal tax that go to federation account. No, it goes to the people who sell the water, the people who sell the souvenir, the people who sell the food, the people who owns the hotel. So even if some money will come back to the government from it, the money first touch the hand of people at those base level. And so if we can improve on security, we can improve on tourism, we can improve on agriculture, and then we earn more foreign exchange, both from exportation and people who are even visiting the nation. And when people come around, they see what you have, then you can begin to have industries. We possibly have some of the best vegetation in the world. Here are over 7 vegetation belts, which makes us very unique, which makes us very different, which means that virtually everything you get everywhere in the world can actually be produced manageably within the system.
Now Mr. Ben, let's come back to yet another matter. Catholic bishops in the country have asked Mr. President to save Nigeria. Now, this comment was made at the Catholic Bishops' Conference, which is currently underway. They are asking Tinubu to save Nigeria from collapse and the killings in the country. Of course, we've been talking security matters and also fix elections that many Nigerians have lost faith and trust in. What is the place of, the clergy in ensuring that they hold leaders accountable and guide them in the right direction at a time when some people feel like just maybe the weight of the words of the clergy aren't as heavy as they used to be. But how is the dynamics at the moment?
Well, the practical reality is that as of today, we are fully diversified.
That's right.
There is the spread of information. There is the increased access to global happenings and a number of other things. And of course, in Nigeria, there has been so much proliferation of churches that some people actually listen to their denomination or to their own pastors and not necessarily to what any other person is saying. And of course, the kind of control that used to be pre-independent, the clergy and the teachers were the superpowers in Nigeria. When they say it, everybody tends to do what? To listen. Because, you know, at that time they represented the white lords. And so people see them as small lords. It was that much in that era that a teacher can actually go to a king and say, call this family and tell them whatever this boy father have, they cannot use it for something else except they send him to secondary school. So the likes of Mrs. Adetipe do that in Abeokuta in the 50s and the 60s. And in a lot of other places you will see such influence. But today, that influence has been diffused. But that is not to say that they are still not relevant. The Bible calls Christians the light of the world. So if they are the light of the world and they are the salt of the earth and they are the vision carrier and the vision bearer, then you still expect that they should say it as it is or as it should be. Now, as much as you can say, Mr. President, protect us, do this, do that, the truth is also that Mr. President is not wind that can blow on all directions. He's not God that is omnipresent. He needs people, boots on ground. And like we said, over time we have left these things, the gap has been too wide. And so we have left so many spaces ungoverned. Now, to govern them, it cannot be overnight. Because you also need to know this, that if these men you are talking about are not properly trained, they also become a problem. So there has to be proper training. So it means that between when you begin to take action and when you will see the total result, there has to be gap. Like we said, the police takes about 6 months to train. The army takes about 9 months, irrespective of the rudimentary level of training you want to give. So 6 months is 180 days. So even if we say today we have recruited 100,000 policemen, we will train them this and that, and we don't expect them to hit the street until 6 months from now. So if they are going to come up 6 months later, it means that over the 6 months, if you cannot see the impact of that recruitment, and if it's the army over the 6 to 9 months that they were also trained, you can't see the impact. But it is good to put the words out there that this is what we feel needed to be done. And then within what is available, the president and his men in the security forces and the paramilitary are looking at what they can do to stem the situation. But we know it's not a magic wand, because men are involved. Even if you import technology and you put technology in place, drone will not go inside the house to arrest.
It has to be.
The drone can detect and say, okay, these people are here. But you still need some people to move physically there to possibly make some form of arrest. That's the practical reality.
Now they also pointed towards bad leadership and what they termed distorted understanding of politics as the major problems or the cause of affliction in the nation. Now, earlier I had stated something about the weight of the clergy, or the weight of religious leaders not carrying as the words of religious leaders not carrying as much weight as it used to. Many people have attributed that to the over-involvement of these religious leaders, who should ordinarily just stick to their calling. You know, their over-involvement in political matters alignment with party politics and the rest as the reason why they are no longer as revered as possible. But where do we draw the line between, speaking truth to power, being involved in ensuring that you advise government or public office holders and ensure good governance, and also being actively involved or partisan in such manner? Where do we draw the line?
Well, I think for me, the clergy need not be in politics.
Yeah.
But they oversee a large crowd of people. They should guide their people on what to do in the political space.
Yeah.
Politics is meant to be for the ordering of the people. When God created, if we go by the standard of the Bible in Genesis 1, after that he created man, he said he should have dominion over everything that God has created. So he expected that man, so politics is meant for the purpose of order. Politics is meant for the purpose of governance.
Yeah.
Politics is meant for the purpose of guiding the system. And you will notice at some point when you begin to have kings and prophets and the rest, the prophets were meant to give guidance. This is what God would have you do as a king. This is what God would think you should not do. And in a lot of places, these discussions are between what? Between the kings and the prophet, not between the prophet and the pressmen. So to a large extent, you want to speak to the president, and then you address a press conference, and it is from the press release that the president is going to hear what you have to say. What you would actually know is that some people have heard you, and they have diluted and construed and confused whatever you are saying before the president gets to hear it. So, political participation by the church should be an individual thing based on conviction.
Yeah. I
can decide to be a Democrat, I can decide to be a Republican, I can decide to stand alone, I can decide to be in the middle, I can decide to be liberal. It's my choice. It's for the church to guide me as a member. Whatever you are doing, do it by the guidance and the leading of the Spirit of God.
Yeah.
Now, how many of these priests are able to talk to the senator and the influential guys in their church? Some of the churches have been built by these politicians, possibly some of whom the masses do not even trust.
Yeah.
But when they come to church, they get the front seat. When they go to the mosque, they get reserved seat. When they go to the shrine, it's about the same thing. Services or even events can be postponed because you want to wait for them.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't be so. I will still remember in the Bible between King Saul and Samuel, he said, go and wait for me 7 days on the mountain. And the guy went. And then on the 7th day, he felt that Samuel was delaying and the people want to leave. And because he wanted to remain popular, he did what he was not supposed to do.
Yeah.
When Samuel came, he said, just let the people see us together. But Samuel told him point blank. At that instant, now take note, it was not that he told the people the king should go and wait. No, he told the king to go and wait. The king took the people. So the king heard from the prophet directly by himself. So when he came, he said, this thing that you have done is what? Wrong. And the king was like, no, let the people see us together and know that I am still right.
Yeah.
And he said, no, what you have done is wrong. And he dragged the cloth of the prophet, and the way you have torn my garment, same way your kingdom will be what?
Torn apart.
Will be torn apart. So what you need to see clearly is that, yes, they must speak truth to power, but they must not be seen as partisan. They must encourage their people to go and participate, and participation should be based on free will. Don't force them, don't curse them, don't coerce them, but make them participate. Tell them the truth why they are going out. Teach your people to hear from God. Said as many as are led by the Spirit of God, they are the sons of God. So if they cannot hear, it means that you that is hearing and your people cannot hear, your people are actually not children of God. You are the only child of God.
Now, Mr. Ben, I just want you to comment on something quite disturbing this morning. In a few minutes, we'll let you out of the studio. In 5 minutes' time, we'll be done. We saw yesterday an attack in Ondo and in Edo State, where gunmen had attacked a church, particularly in Ondo, you know, and they abducted 6 worshippers. We also hear that one traditional ruler was killed in the process. This is quite alarming and disturbing. We have seen attacks in different parts of the country, the northwest, the north central, the northeast, and even the southeast. But the southwest, which is considered one of the safest and one of the most peaceful, you know, regions in the country, is now experiencing some of these very deadly attacks. What does this say about our security situation in the country? And should Nigerians be really worried that this scourge is spreading faster than we can control?
Well, we should be worried, but I think there is hope if we respond appropriately. Now, this is what you should. I've always known and stayed. I'm from Ondo North, and at some point, especially in the dry season, the boundaries between Ondo, Edo, and Kogi are more of rivers. In the dry season, these rivers, River Afra, River Ose, and the rest of them would have low volume, and people can cross them. So what you then discover is that there are no boundaries in the forest going all the way from Kogi West to Ondo North and Edo North. So if these people are being pursued, now take note that the bushes are clearing in the top savanna. So hiding places are reducing in the northwest and in the northeast. In some part of the north central, they can hide. So if you rush at them in Kogi and Kwara, then where you expect them to push to is Ekiti Ondo and Edo. Ondo down to Owo. It's a straight stretch of forest here and there until those places can be effectively taken over. Then you expect that there will be no more free passage. Now, I don't see these things as, it's not that it's permanent. They are nomadic. They are being chased in Benue and Kwara and Kogi, so they are rushing into Edo North and Ondo North. And to a large extent, there were not enough men on ground to curtail that action. And that's why we keep saying, for the forest guard, recruit more. For the military, recruit more. Whether the forest now grew or did not grow, even when the water is now full, the guys in Edo can monitor the Edo side. The people in Kogi can monitor the Kogi side. The people in Ondo can monitor the Ondo side. There may not be serious interaction across the rivers because there won't be so much action happening across the rivers for those periods. But in dry season, those water are not there. And so everywhere is road. Everywhere is passable. Every route is there. So more recruitment is important. Like the president was telling the new IG, there is the need for more collaboration. The DSS has been doing Yeoman in recent time, and I believe that they can do more. But if you now have more men, because it's one thing to gather the intelligence, it's another thing to have enough men to respond at certain instances. Because you have gathered, you know there are 200 men in the bush. You have only 5 men with you. The chances are that you won't be able to confront them if you don't have a higher firepower to deal with them.
All right, Mr. Ben, quite very salient points here. Thank you so much for always lending your wealth of knowledge to these matters of national interest. Well, I've been speaking to Mr. Ben Agunle, a public affairs analyst. We've been talking security matters and the most recent deadly attacks in Ondo and in Edo State. We also touched on the appointment and decoration of the new acting Inspector General of Police, Mr. Tunji Disu, by Mr. President. We'll take a break. When we return, we'll turn our attention to the social media space and how digital footprints can affect you and I. We'll take a break. When we come back, Morning Express continues.
Welcome to the Niger Delta, a region of incredible beauty and stark contrast. From its breathtaking landscapes to its rich cultural heritage, this is a place where history and modernity collide. But beneath this serene surface lies a story of struggle and resilience. The Niger Delta is the lifeblood of Nigeria's economy, home to vast oil reserves that fuel the nation, yet it is a land where the people fight for their share of the wealth. Join us on the program Niger Delta Today as we explore the heart of the Niger Delta, discover the vibrant cultures, the struggles for environmental justice, and the stories of the people who call this place home. This is the Niger Delta, a land of contrast, a story of resilience, a journey of hope. Don't miss our exclusive series, Niger Delta Today, every day at 12 noon, only on ADBN TV. Witness the untold stories, experience the journey, be part of the change. Do you know what gamalin 20 is? It is a dangerous chemical pesticide never meant for human consumption. Sadly, some fishermen illegally use gamalin 20 to catch fish, poisoning not just the water, but the food on your plate. Here's how to spot fish caught with gamalin 20. Fish that look unusually fresh but stiff. A strange chemical smell, sometimes like kerosene, when cooked. Pale or bleached gills, peeling scales, or sunken eyes. Eating such fish can cause nausea, vomiting, and even damage your liver and kidneys. In severe cases, it can lead to life-threatening health complications. Remember, using gamalin 20 for fishing is a crime. It harms people, rivers, and marine life. Protect your health. Buy fish only from trusted sellers. Report suspicious fishing practices to the authorities. Together, let's keep our waters safe and our meals healthy.
Well, you're welcome back to Morning Express. Now let's welcome our next guest who is joining us virtually from the Federal Capital Territory, Mr. Ifeanyi Nze, who is the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of ADBN Technologies. A very good morning to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining the program.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chief. Thank you for having me.
All right, Mr. Nze, let's talk about the concept of digital footprints. A lot of people hear digital, they know what digital is. They hear footprints, they know what footprints are. But then when you combine these two, what exactly does it mean?
So basically, digital footprints are just trails that you leave online when you conduct any online activity. When you make a post, that's a digital footprint. You post on Facebook, you post on any social media platform. Even if not, it's not a social media platform, but a blog post that is digital footprint. So basically, the trails you leave online, when you do anything online, when you send emails, those are part of digital footprint. And then there are also, sorry, let me explain this a little bit more. So there are two types of digital footprints. There's the passive, then there's the active digital footprint. The active footprint is what everybody knows. You make a post, you send an email. Those are, you are actively engaging online. But then there is the passive footprint. So there are things you do online. You are not deliberately making a post. You're not deliberately putting something out there in digital space. But somehow you're leaving a trail. Let's say, for instance, you are on the website, and then the website tells you that the website sees cookies, and you accept those cookies. By the time you're browsing that website, those cookies are actually data that are being stored on your browser, and the cookies basically track the pages that you visit on that website. The cookies track your activity. Let's say it's an e-commerce website, and you make a purchase or you put something in your cart on that website. Those cookies track and store those information. So that is part of passive digital footprints. You're not actively leaving those footprints there, but while you're doing carrying out online activities, those footprints are being recorded.
Now, Mr. Anze, these digital footprints, of course, we're in the age of technology and all. A lot of people have attributed it to either being a liability or being an asset. You know, on social media, people post stuff and, you know, you go to the comment section and you see comments like, oh, you're not afraid of digital footprints, or this could come and haunt you in the future and the rest. Is this a two-sided coin? What exactly is the digital footprint tilting towards in a short form? Is it an asset or a liability?
Well, it can be both. It can be both. It can be an asset. It can be a liability. Let's take for instance. You're going for an interview, for a job interview, and then you're on public transport, and then there's a conversation in that public transport that you participated actively in, and if your tune in that conversation was positive, that's great. If it was negative, it's still okay. And then you review room to the boardroom where the interview is supposed to be conducted, and then you find out that one of the passengers in that public transport is on the board of the interviews. It's one of the people that's supposed to be interviewing you. So you find out that your conversation in that public transport, if it was positive, it becomes an asset to you, because the person already has a positive perception about you. But if the conversation in that public transport was negative, then it leaves a negative perception about your person. So once you see the person in that interview room, you're almost sure that it might not pan out for you. So that's just how it is for digital footprints. If your conversations, your activities online are positive, your activities online are instructive, your activities online and your personality online is consistent, it becomes an asset. But then when you're very controversial online, when your online activities are kind of criminally intended, people judge you by what you do online these days. So in that regard, it becomes a liability for you, because once people are able to pick up your digital footprints or digital trails, they get a negative perception about you. That means you're living your digital footprints are liabilities for you. But then when your activities online are positive, when they're professional, when you're kind, you're polite online, it becomes an asset.
Now, quite interestingly, it's said that your digital footprint is not just social media; it's more than it. It's your searchable history, from job screenings to legal proceedings, online content that now carry a real world consequences. Now, in terms of these consequences, I will come to some certain examples, both locally and internationally, where some celebrities' digital footprints had done something to them. However, when we talk about what happened online having real-time consequences, you also contrast it with people who will tell you, oh, social media is not real, don't believe what you see online, this and that. If people have the concept of the social media is not real, then why does digital footprint come back to affect people's life in real time?
Well, whether you're having a physical conversation or you're having a digital conversation, an online conversation, whatever your take in that conversation is came out from your heart, right? And you talk about it. So you cannot. People sometimes have physical conversations, and they ask that you don't judge them by those physical conversations because they are just catching crews, right? And then people also say anything I post online on social media is just cruise. So if you are to judge, if you can judge somebody by what they say physically, even though the person says they're just catching cruise, so I think it's still the same thing because whatever you say online, you talk about it, you did digest that thoughts before you say you put it out there. So however people see it, it doesn't matter how you see it. Whatever information you put out there, it is your personality that it puts it out there. And you cannot ask people not to judge you by what you have said, whether online or offline. So we need to be extremely careful. I think the problem is that people are not properly educated about consequences of digital footprints. We've had scenarios where opportunities because of certain negative things that they said online, and when you make a statement, you cannot make a statement whether it's online or offline and ask people not to judge you by it. I don't know if you get the point that I'm making. So
I understand you, Mr. Nze. Carry on, sir.
Yeah. So wherever you're making a statement, online or offline, people are expected to judge you by it. Whether you're catching cruise or you're not catching cruise, people will judge you because you're living a trail. Whatever you say talks to your character, it talks to your personality, it talks about the person that you are, whatever you say. So that is why it's very important that when you make a post online or when you do anything online, you should do it as though there might be consequences in the future. When you do something online, you should, because anything you do online, you're not just doing it within your physical space. You're not doing it within the confines of your privacy. Whatever you do online, you're putting out there for the billions of people that are online. Anybody can come across it. So we need to be extremely careful when we put contents online.
Now, Mr. Nze, let's talk about individuals like Ezra Olubi, who was, before his suspension, Paystack co-founder, and as well as individuals like Kevin Hart, whose old tweets had resurfaced, leading him to step down from hosting the Oscars, which many people consider is a lesson on how past content can also affect present opportunities. And most recently, Simi has been in the news, especially on X. She has been receiving a lot of backlash after past tweets had resurfaced, also triggering public debate and scrutiny. Though it is not yet a criminal case, it showed how online expressions can also affect one's life. Now, these are just a few examples of how digital footprints have, come back to haunt certain individuals. But is there a way to maybe, and a lot of these people, when these tweets resurface, they will tell you, oh, they have turned a new leaf. They are not the same person that they were when those tweets were made, or they were naive, they were too young and all. How do we balance this out, and how do we fully understand that indeed these people have changed from what they were when they made those tweets some 5, 10, 15 years ago?
Okay, I think it will be fair enough. It will be fair enough since you're judging somebody from events that happened online 10 years ago, it will be fair enough to also judge the person by present at online activities to see if there are really changes. Because it's called footprint for a reason. That's why sometimes we talk about consistency of footprint. If 5 years ago you were consistent about making negative posts or making derogatory posts online, and then there is a consistent shift from negative online activities towards carrying out positive online activities, then I think it will be fair enough to that individual if people begin to judge them differently from their old online activity. It will be unfair to somebody if you've seen that in the past 10 years, the person's activities or the person's digital footprint has been positive, and then there are just one or two negative footprints here and there. It will be very unfair of that. It will be very unfair to judge that person based on just those couple of negative activities. I think we also look at the incidents of Simi's the post that she's getting a lot of backlash on is just one of so many online activities or so many digital footprints that she's left out there. But when you look at her other digital footprints, they've been positive. Maybe just one opinion that she had was negative or rubbed off on society wrongly. So it's important that when we judge people, we look at consistency over a period of time. Have they been consistently negative online over X period of time? Have they shifted from negative digital footprints to positive footprints, or have they been consistently negative over a long period of time? And then because an opportunity just came out, they started, tilting towards positive. They started tilting towards positive digital footprint. Then you know that could be how do I put that? That could be hypocritical. So we look at a scenario where somebody who has always been calling the president a drug lord for over 10 years, right? And said he would never accept, even when the president won the elections and became president, he said he will never accept to work for the president or work under the president. Now, these are digital footprints that he's been leaving. By the time he sees an opportunity and then he's being given, that's random mockery. By the time he sees an opportunity and then he's being given the opportunity to become an ambassador, you see that the footprints, as regards that topic of the president being a drug lord, the footprints begin to change. I wouldn't want to give anybody an opinion, but in my own opinion, that's hypocritical, because there's been a very long period of consistently
bashing this individual
online. And then for a very short period, once an opportunity comes up, you begin to change the footprints and begin to say something else. So that's, for me, if I'm a judge and I'm supposed to judge that person, I will judge you to be a hypocrite.
Now, Ms. Nancy, let's come back to companies and the rights that they have when it comes to on employment. Do you think that companies have the right to screen social media of their employees or intending employees? Is this permissible by law? And apart from it being permissible by law, is this morally right to go and look up one's social media and monitor them? From your perspective, what is your position on this?
Okay, part of Nigerian law that stops potential employers from checking out potential employees online and seeing what their activities have been online. And morally, I think is right, because whatever you put online, whatever content you put online, it's no longer private. It's for everybody's consumption. And for anybody to bring you into their space, for anybody to employ you into their own workplace, they're supposed to do their due diligence. And for you to go for an interview, you expect them to do their due diligence and scrutinize you properly during the interview, scrutinize the CV that you presented to them, to know the kind of person you are, to know if you're a fit culturally to the organization. But then, if they have the means to go the extra mile to gather more information about you, because the people you employ within an organization makes or mar the organization. If you have left any form of digital footprint, right, you are also, your digital footprint is your own official CV. It's important to put this out there, that your digital footprint, it's your own official CV. Whenever you put anything out there, potential employers can see it, potential business partners can see it, and they will judge you by it. But the only thing that we ask is that when potential employers, scrutinize digital footprints, they should be unbiased, they should not be discriminatory when they do these checks. It shouldn't be emotional based. These checks should not be emotional based. They should be policy based. Well, what I mean by that is this: there should be policies even before the interview as to what is expected when you vet candidates online. Um, when you judge candidate A negatively based on a particular footprint, it's important that you do not judge candidate B positively when you see a similar footprint from candidate B. It's important that there's a policy by the people that are interviewing that, okay, if we see people who make statements like this, we want to judge your character, we want to judge if you're a fraudulent person. If we see digital footprints like this across all the candidates that are coming for this interview, if we see digital footprints like this, then we have to judge that person to say this person might be criminally minded. The person is a no-no for this organization. And then, depending on the culture of the organization, the policy could be that if we see people who make very, very controversial political statements, make very controversial political arguments online, they're very, very controversial online. If we see such people, they do not fit into the culture of this organization. So we cannot hire such people. And when the hiring process starts, it's important that that policy cuts across every candidate that will be coming for that interview. So that is where the line has to be drawn. If it's a case of do they have the right to? Yes, they have the right to. You put out those contents online, and they need to know who you are. If they have to go track a person that they might be employing, then of course they have the right to, because you gave the world that content to consume. But then when they do it, they shouldn't do it based on emotions. They shouldn't be biased. They shouldn't be politically biased. Somebody comes online and says, in this election, I'm supporting candidate A against candidate B, and that person is not necessarily negative about their comments. So because an interviewer supported candidate B in that same election, you shouldn't judge that person by that. You shouldn't judge people based on religious sentiments. You shouldn't judge them based on their own personal opinions.
Now, some experts might tell you, or just some observers might tell you, that in the way that HR departments use online searches for recruitment, sometimes they tend to overstep their boundaries, claiming that there has to be a clear-cut line between one's personal life and one's work or business life, and that whatever tweets, whatever posts they make online does not necessarily have to be a reflection of the duties that they would carry out in the organization. This is a different, an argument from a different point of view. Do you also subscribe to this?
My own opinion is this, and I think it's generally accepted opinion. When you're in a workplace, you form relationships, colleagues, you communicate with colleagues, and every organization has their own culture. Irrespective of your work ethics, irrespective of how well you can do your job, your personality also matters in the workplace, because a controversial person in a workplace can make the workplace toxic. And there is no employer who wants to employ anybody who is toxic. Being toxic has nothing to do with how well you know the job, how well you can do the job. It has nothing to do with your work ethics. There are people who have very healthy work ethics, and they are very, very toxic, and they make any environment they find themselves toxic. So yes, they can judge you based on your personal content. You can have your professional profile out there where you throw out professional content to show that you are an expert or you are an authority in this field of profession, and then you also have your own personal profiles where you put out your personal opinions, right? When people go for interviews, you don't just try to find out how professional they are or how well they know the job. You also try to find out if personally they fit into the organization, if they fit into the culture of the organization. So when people judge your footprint, your digital footprint, they also try to find this kind of they also try to find out this information if culturally you are a fit to the organization, and then you definitely have to dig into your personal opinions online. They definitely have to.
Now, Mr. Nze, as we look to round off this discussion, let's talk about the younger generation who are the biggest users of social media in today's time and age. Do you think that they are well informed about digital footprint consequences, especially what we see on TikTok, on X, on Instagram, and the likes? And also, can deleted posts on social media still destroy reputations when they are dug out?
Taking your first question, I think the younger generation do not really understand the consequences of digital footprints, of leaving negative digital footprints. That's why we see a lot of things that we see on TikTok. Now, we've had marriages that has been scuffled because of negative digital footprint. Somebody wants to get married to a lady, and then you find some content about that person maybe a week or two to the wedding. You find out some negative content that tells you that tells you something different about the personality of your potential spouse from what you have known that person to be. And such marriages like that have been put on hold because of such consequences. So I think that the younger generation do not understand it. So there's a need for education. In as much as we give people digital education, teach them digital skills, it's also important that we need to teach them digital ethics. And it'll come to a point in time where stakeholders, right, in the digital space will come up and draw certain ethics will come up to draw certain ethics about how we communicate or how we conduct activity in the digital space, especially with the emergence of artificial intelligence. Because artificial intelligence can now clone people and can now paint people pictures about people in a manner that they are not. Artificial intelligence is now beginning to do that. We see that voices of people are cloned, saying things that they never said, trying to paint their image. So at some point, stakeholders will come up with ethics. But before then, it's also important that in our schools, in gatherings, in training centers, in as much as we're teaching people digital skills, it's important to teach them digital ethics. And then let's also go to your second question where you asked if deleted posts can still hurt people's reputation. It can. It can. One thing we need to understand that sometimes when you delete a post or when you delete a digital footprint, maybe what you're deleting is not necessarily the footprint. You might just be deleting a reference to that footprint. That footprint might still be set somewhere in one server in the US or in China or somewhere. So it's important for us to know that because I send you an email, for instance, Mr. Chijoke, and then the email gets delivered, right?
Yeah.
And then I delete that email from my end. You still have the email. You still have the email. Even though I've deleted it from my end, what I only did was to delete a reference to that footprint. You still have it. And if it's a negative footprint, you can still use it to hurt me in the future. So sometimes we delete things online, the stock footprint is still there, and then there's something they call data scrapping, right? Data scrapping, people use data scrapping to collect digital footprint of mostly influencers and very popular people, politicians and all of that. You can delete a post, you can delete the content online, and then digital scrappers have already gotten screenshots of that post.
Yeah.
And the post will still come out to hurt you until the future. So it's very important I would think about whatever we put out there online. Because even if you delete it, your screen can still come back to hurt you. There are a lot of people who have put pornographic content online and then still went back to delete it. But before then, people have downloaded this content and posted on different platforms. And you can't go to all the platforms or go to all the servers in the world and start deleting such content. So I think it's very important that we think about whatever we put out there. And then there's a very strong need for younger generation to be educated about digital ethics, about the consequences of putting out negative digital footprint.
All right, Mr. Ifeanyi, MD CEO, DN Technologies, thank you so much for speaking with us this morning and also for enlightening Nigerians about digital footprints and the consequences of negative digital footprints.
Thank you very much, Njoki, for having me. It was a pleasure.
All right. Well, I've been speaking to Mr. Ifeanyi, MD CEO, DN Technologies, and digital footprints in the age of technology and how we can ensure that we keep a clean track record on social media. Well, this is the Margin Morning Express this morning. Thank you for staying put through the program. At the top of the hour, our Oyo studios will take it up with ADBN Sports. My name is Chijioke Okafo. Thank you so much for watching and good morning, Nigeria.
On the go. ADBN is everywhere you are. Stay connected with us across all our social media and streaming platforms for exclusive news updates, captivating stories, and more. Join the ADBN community today via our various platforms. An Avo TV app, ADBN Channel 121, Niger TV